Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for tuning in to the Marketing Resolution YouTube channel. I'm happy today to share some time with Brett Lovett. He is the headmaster and creator of the University for Distance Learning, and his company specifically has courses in mediation, anti-sexual harassment, anti-bullying, all different kinds of compliance courses. And so, Brett, thanks very much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Natalie.
So, Brett, there's more than a handful of anti-sex harassment and anti-bullying courses out there for individuals and for companies for purposes in training up their employees and remaining compliant with state laws. But I'm curious what it is about your courses in particular that makes you different than the others.
I appreciate you asking that question because I believe that we do have a special niche in this particular field, especially with sexual harassment prevention and anti-bullying. I've been doing it, the training, along with another colleague, professor, for 7-8 years now. But it didn't dawn on me until about 3 or 4 years into the process. I'm thinking, here we go around teaching, giving these programs, 2-hour programs, and yet the state mandates it. So to me, at some point, it just dawned on me one day, I think there's a disconnect. If people really understand the information, then why is it mandated? I just asked myself that question. And then I actually just started asking the audiences to begin the programs. I'd say, do you really need me? I'd just pick somebody up out of the audience and say, do you really need me to come in here and tell you not to touch this person or her inappropriately? And they'd nod their head no. I'd say, okay. And then I'd pick another, maybe a female out of the audience. I say, now, do you really need me to come in here and tell you not to look at this gentleman up and down in an inappropriate way? And again, they would all nod their head, no, we don't need you. So then I asked the question, then why am I here? Why does the state mandate this training every 2 years? To me, there's a disconnect. And generally, I give them a little bit of a pause and let them, sometimes they say something, sometimes the audience is quiet. And I said, let me just put out to you what I think it is. I'm just saying this is my opinion. This is what I've taken away from my experience. And that is that from trainings I've been a part of, that others have given, legal entities have given, human resource management professionals have given, it dawned on me at one point that all that's really covered is the applicable law. Is that important? Absolutely. And it should be covered. But it's only, what I suggest, 10% of what sexual harassment is, because as the individuals I explained to you generally answer, no, we don't need you to tell us that. And those are the overt actions. To me, 90% of sexual harassment, the problems that come up in businesses, are the gray areas. That, to me, is the real root of sexual harassment. People that said, I didn't know I did something wrong, or that in my sphere of living, that isn't inappropriate, and I didn't know I was doing something. And that's where the issues are. And so the programs that we developed then took that line of reasoning, and it's what we call a principled approach. I've said it this way, Natalie, if the law teaches you how close to the line you can get before crossing over, it's somewhat of a dangerous way to live or work. Whereas principles, if you understand principles, and perhaps I can give you one later, if we understand principles, in effect, we're learning how far away from the line can we stay. And that is the niche in this type of prevention training that we've created. And why, in one sentence, although it was longer than one sentence, we are different.
Okay, so just to make sure that I understand what the differences are, is it a difference in societal and cultural norms that sometimes gets us into trouble. So for example, if I am walking on the streets in Italy and someone whistles a cat call at me, as an American woman, I might consider that, uncomfortably even harassing me. As an Italian woman, I understand that it's meant to be a compliment. Is it that kind of difference that you're talking about, or is it a corporate culture wherein, for example, at my company, it's fine for us to tell what people might consider to be an off-color joke or a dirty joke, and we just established that that's our corporate culture. It's still probably not cool, but that's what our corporate culture is. Is it that kind of gray area that you're talking about?
It's a great. And that's difficult to answer too, because when you're bringing in other cultures, society or societal cultures, as you well, I gave an example of there. It's difficult. Generally, the avenue we're coming from is this is in the workplace. I give this illustration in the trainings I give, is that we all wear different hats. So when you're at home, you may be a mother, you may be a father, you may be a roommate, a husband or a wife. You wear those hats. When you come to work, you generally take that hat off and you put on your work hat. It's a different hat. We can't anymore in society say, well, this is the way I am at all times, take it or leave it. This is the way I grew up, and I'm a person with rough edges, and you just have to take me as I come. Maybe at some point, some years ago that maybe that worked, maybe it didn't work. I don't know, but again, that's a tough question to answer. All I can say is that we're talking about the workplace in general. But do I think it extends outside of the workplace to how people are in the family, how we deal with one another on the street as we're walking down the street? Is it against the law to whistle at a woman that's walking down the street? Probably not. Is it showing respect for her? Probably not. And that is the gray area I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So if you want to only live by the law, then you're going to always go up to the edge. But if you want to live by principles, you're going to be doing yourself well, and you're going to be dealing with others well, and you're going to stay away from any trouble, especially in the workplace.
And I think you used a really key, super important word, and that word is respect. And learning how to exhibit, how to voice, how to act in that respectful way. And it's not just one gender that has to learn these rules. I was watching Sky News the other morning, and there was a female commentator, color commentator, who, had she been a man and said those things to a woman, in this case it was reversed, she was a woman saying these things to a man, had the roles been reversed, she would have been brought up on charges. But because she was a woman saying it to a man, the other reporters sitting at the desk around her giggled uncomfortably and didn't say anything. But it's just as inappropriate when it comes, from the female gender toward the male gender. It doesn't make any difference. Being disrespectful is being disrespectful, and I think that you've taken an absolutely fantastic position on these courses. And being compliant is really important. From a corporate perspective, keeping my company compliant is imperative. But I also really like that not only will my employees learn what the regulations require us to learn, but the human aspect as well. The touchier, feelier end of it is really important, because lots of us come to work with highly sensitive filters, and some of us come to work with slightly duller filters. And that does make it more complicated, but so I think that's great. Now, your classes, are they available in person, online? How do you deliver your classes? Is it just at the request of the client, and you just make it happen for that client?
Well, again, that's a great question. For many years, it was just live in-person training that we did. But we wanted to broaden our reach internationally, frankly. And the only way to really do that and do that effectively was to broaden out into the online realm. So do we deliver live in-person training? Absolutely. Do we have online courses? Yes. And we've created those really so that we can reach as many people as possible so that they can benefit from the training.
Okay, excellent. So if a company is looking for someone to keep their company compliant and to help educate their employees, they can contact you directly and schedule with you a time. You'll go to them, or they can go to you if they want a vacation in beautiful Southern California, I suppose, and get everybody trained up. If that's difficult, I really, really like the option that you have of the online training. And these are, correct me if I'm wrong, these are 1 hour classes for employees and it's a 2 hour class for supervisors. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so that makes it a lot easier for lots of employees, because then they can, they can take your class while they're riding on the subway. They can use their iPhone, or they can be at work, or whatever it is. And so I really like the convenience of the online course. I think that's a brilliant move.
Yeah,
So
they're self-paced. They're regulated, so you can't just start the program and skip to the end. And they're regulated so that they have to go through each step, so that we know that the individual taking the program is taking the full program and completing it. So the full report can be given if needed or necessary. So the online component is really nice. If it's difficult for companies to pull 20, 30, 40 people away at one time in one spot, it takes, logistically, that's a lot of work and a lot of effort. We understand that. Sometimes that makes the most sense. And when that does, we're there live and in person. And we have traveled internationally to do programs as well as nationally. We don't just do those in our backyard. But if that doesn't work, that's the beauty of the online component, is that it gives somebody who's the organizer the ability to give their people the opportunity to go in whenever they can and complete that course. And they don't have to complete it in one setting. They can get a certain way through it and come back to it and finish it within a reasonable amount of time.
And pick it up again. And then when they finish, they get some sort of certificate of completion or something from you, so that they can prove up their presence in the course to their human resource manager or their boss.
Yes, that would be automatically generated.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. So I think it's no surprise to anyone who watches this that having sex harassment prevention training is sadly still so necessary in our societies. It is sad that this is a conversation that we have been having as a society for decades. But the other thing that I know that you are really passionate about is the anti-bullying courses that you offer. And I guess I'm really glad to say that I wasn't personally aware that this was such an enormous issue inside companies. And I'm a bit saddened that it's necessary, I have to admit. But tell me a little bit about the anti-bullying program that you have.
Yeah, the bullying, and it works in conjunction with the sexual harassment prevention. Bullying is still being defined. It's kind of an ongoing, it's not as clearly defined as sexual harassment, but we do have parameters in the bullying coursework. Again, I mean, we can talk for hours on a subject like this. You have individuals who may be overtly bully. They may they consciously know what they're doing in the work, but they're asserting some sort of authority, whether it's real authority or imagined authority. whatever that case is. You also have bullying in forms of like intimidation. And it doesn't have to be verbal. It could be the way that you stand. It could be your posture. And you may not even, and many people may not even know that they're being intimidating by the way that they stand next to a person, or by the way that they engage or speak with somebody. Now you got to bring in culture, different cultures. You're going to bring up the way somebody was raised. You know, here we are, we spend 40 or more hours in the workplace a week. Sometimes, often, people spend more time with workmates than they do with their own family. But you don't know how, do you really know how those that you work with were raised? Do you know what they were taught, what they weren't taught? We don't know whether they were abused in some way or not, form or fashion. All of this plays into their disposition. And then all of a sudden they just bring that into the workplace, and you bring 2,000 people with different dispositions and upbringings into the workplace, and you throw them together and you say, here, go do this job. Well, I'm assuming most of them know how to do the job, but what gets in the way is each other. And it isn't about pointing the finger saying, well, I can't do my job because so-and-so. It starts with us. Bullying doesn't start with somebody else. It starts with us. We need to look at us first internally, and then we can move out from there.
Yeah, I think that's such excellent points. So, can I ask you a personal question then?
Sure.
What is your favorite part about teaching these classes? What do you love most about what you do?
The ability, simply put, the ability to possibly make an impact on somebody's life. That they came in for a 1 hour training, or they came in for a 2 hour training, or they took the 1 hour online training, or they took the 2 hour, or any of our other trainings. That they started with whatever their thoughts were, but they left with something that they could use that day, even if it was just one thing. So the ability to make that impact is the single greatest driver for me in why I do this. I used to do mediation, case mediation. That took a lot of energy. I mean, that took a lot out of me to be a neutral between two disputing parties. And I thought, I really enjoy doing this. It zaps a lot out of you mentally. But I wanted to make a greater impact, have a greater reach than just one case at a time. And that, I think that's what really drove me towards the instruction and reaching people and saying, here, look, I'm not saying this is the only information out there. I'm not saying this is the end all of knowledge. I'm just saying, have you thought about this? Have you considered this? And if that's something new to you and something that you can use and apply to better your own life and the life of your family and the life of those that you work with, which in a sense are family, like I said, because you spend sometimes more time with them than you do your own, then if you can better yourself and those around you, well, then there's a satisfaction that comes from that, at least for me, that I don't find anywhere else. And that is why I do this.
I think that's a fantastically laudable reason for doing what you're doing. And I know that before this interview, I did a little bit of homework and read some of the online reviews and the testimonials from people who have taken your courses, and your previous clients, your previous students. They write things like, if there were more than 5 stars, I would have checked more than 5 stars. That your course changed the way that they view their fellow humans and the way they will ultimately treat those fellow humans. And so I really did enjoy reading the testimonials and the reviews for your program. It speaks really highly of the product, the service that you offer, when other people so willingly, type up glowing reviews and testimonials. So, well, Brett, I really want to thank you for your time and explaining a little bit about your courses. And I will link down below in the description section of this video the website so that you can see Brett's courses. You can look at the University for Distance Learning curriculum. And I know that when I was playing around with it a little bit earlier, you get a little sneak preview, a little freebie preview if you're interested in taking the courses. So be sure that you click that. And if you've got any questions, Brett is in the Los Angeles area, so West Coast time. I love the service, I love the product, and I really appreciate you spending some time with me today.
No, thanks to you. Anytime that we have a platform to get a message out that we believe is important, then I appreciate just the opportunity to do that in your time as well. So thanks to you.
Fantastic, Brett. Listen, it's been a great pleasure talking with you today. And the next course that you roll out, be sure you let me know. I'd love to log on, and I really enjoyed listening to the courses and reading the reviews, like I said earlier. So next time you roll out another course, be sure you let me know, and we'll record another video and let the general public know about it too.
Okay, wonderful. You can count on it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Brett.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye.